this has become an all too common refrain for this football team this season. Turnovers, killer. Not being able to capitalize on opportunities, killer. Not playing complementary football, killer. Boneheaded mistakes that cost you a game, killer. And this is supposed to be one of the elite teams. And, credit to the defensive side of the ball, Perloff. They lost 6 starters on defense. It has just been injury after injury. And they still were able to be representative last night and hold up their end of the bargain against a pretty bad Broncos team. But the offense is so messy and frustrating. And not what you expect from someone who's supposed to be a top 5 quarterback with an offense that should have a top 5 receiver with enough weapons to move on what is a good Denver defense. I want to give them credit, but this was all about the turnovers for Buffalo and horrible mistakes where you lose a primetime game at home and basically kiss the playoffs goodbye.
So you're done. You're out. 5-5. What are your, if you had to handicap it, is it done or is there any chance this team turns it around?
Well, let's just take a look.
Yeah.
They've already lost this year to, of course, the Jets to start the season. They lost to Jacksonville. That was in Europe. They lost at New England. Think about that. New England sucks. They lost at Cincinnati. Okay, you probably thought that was going to happen. Now they just lost to Denver. Here's what's coming up for the Bills. Jets at your Philadelphia Eagles. Then the bye, come out of the bye, Kansas City, then Dallas, then at the Chargers on a short week, then New England again, finish off the season at Miami. Find me the way they're getting to 10 wins this year, and that's what it's going to take.
I can't. So I'm a little confused. It seemed like the better team lost last night. It seemed like the Bills, they averaged 8 yards a play where the Broncos were around 4 yards a play. The Broncos couldn't move the ball really at all. They got the ball at the 45-yard line. But now I'm starting to wonder, are the Bills really the better team? What makes them the better team if they keep doing these mistakes?
Reputation. And I keep telling you that when you're like, geez, the Bills are a touchdown and a half favorite in this game. It's like Vegas cannot figure out this team at all. Don't go by them. They don't know what's going on with this team clearly. Don't go by them. If you watch and live and die with this team, game in and game out, you know that there has been problems with the offense essentially for how many weeks here? Since basically they went to Jacksonville or went to Europe and played Jacksonville. I just think that Josh Allen, the turnovers at times can be mind-boggling, but anyone who doesn't think that he's still the future of the franchise, you are out of your mind. He's the best thing that's happened to this franchise since Jim Kelly. The problem to me is got to be the coaching. And I think McDermott is a good coach, but sloppy, not prepared. 3 days in England where you come out looking flat. Whose idea was that? The 12 men on the field last night is the end-all, be-all of bad, awful decisions. Like, I don't know if they deserved to win that game. Troy Aikman said they didn't. I don't know about deserve to win. I just watched the Cleveland Browns lead a game for 5 seconds that they won. So talk about deserve.
No.
That doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is they cost themselves in so many instances. Yeah. It doesn't matter if they were playing the Broncos last night or you and I were out there suiting up against them. It's the same frustrating game.
Yeah, I mean, the better team definitely lost. The Bills, I was watching the game and I kept texting you, oh, you're fine. Yeah, and I was trying to live bet the Bills the entire time, but I never got the odds because nobody thought. And they did basically have the win. They kind of won the game. They won the game. I got to imagine that was hard. That's not the best way to lose. There's something about having the win with the missed field goal at the end and then having it pulled back. That's got to hurt.
It does. You'd be right about that. It does hurt. It also hurts when you have a 3rd and 10 on the final drive where Russell Wilson is facing a 3rd and 10 with under a minute to go after he had just gotten sacked out of field goal range. And he does a smart thing. Listen, I'll give it to him. This is savvy. If this was on purpose, this was savvy, where he just basically throws a ball up, ends up underthrowing the receiver, and it's an easy defensive PI. Easiest call the officials all night, and it put them in field goal position. Then Will Lutz missed the 41-yard field goal. Bills had 12 men on the field. He move it up. He nails a 36-yarder.
Broncos country, let's rock.
Yeah, thank you, Manny.
Well, a couple other issues that I am dying to needle you about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think Cortland Sutton was in on that touchdown?
Oh my gosh!
So Cortland Sutton caught one right on the sideline for was that the only Broncos touchdown? Yeah,
no,
they had another one at the end, right? But that was the key play of the game. Was he out of bounds?
I don't. Here's the thing. I want that touchdown to count in the grand scheme of the NFL.
Okay.
I want someone who makes an all-time incredible play just because a pinky toe was off on a blade of grass. I want that play to count because I think you should be rewarded for making spectacular plays. These athletes are unreal. We think we could sit there and, we're sitting on the couch. We think we can do half of the stuff. We can. They're amazing. So I want that play to count, for all of us. I hated that it counted last night against Buffalo, but I want that to count, like a neighborhood kind of play. I'm cool with those.
There is that. Do you think that the Bills should have benched running back James Cook after he fumbled on the first play?
No.
See, I think that I disagree a little bit on that because it really seemed to motivate him the rest of the game.
How about this? You're a professional athlete. That motivates you. And he was doing such a great job running the ball. They went away from him for full stretches because they get in love with just passing the ball and this hero ball stuff. But when James Cook ran the ball on 5 straight plays for the last touchdown drive, the go-ahead touchdown drive that the Bills scored until Denver came down and kicked the game-winning field goal, James Cook is awesome. I don't understand why they never reward this guy in the red zone. How many touchdowns do you think he has on the year?
3 or 4?
1. How many do you think he scored all of last year? 2. They never reward him when he's in the red zone. I just think everything about this, the vibes are off with the team. It has been since training camp with the weird Stephon Diggs leaving and coming back. The team is poorly. They're not executing. Mm-hmm. Moments like last night with 12 men on the field is absolutely unforgivable. And, that's it. The margins for error to win in this league are so small.
Or give me a positive. Give me something. What did you cut? Was there anything last night that made you feel a little better? Dalton Kincaid had some nice plays. Give me something.
I thought the defense held their own considering how many injuries they have.
By the way, they had all those injuries, but they were sending a wave of former Pro Bowl pass rushers at Russell Wilson.
Oh, I know. Well, the Leonard Floyd, who may or may not have been the culprit on the 12 men on the field.
Yeah.
No one wants to call him out because he's playing like his hair's on fire, and he's actually been excellent. Von Miller is a rumor.
Did you hear I was just in the hallway. I heard an interesting thought by the great Boomer Esiason.
Sure, former MVP.
His conspiracy is that Damar Hamlin was actually the person to blame.
It could have been Damar, too.
He's someone who hasn't played a lot all season, and then he was thrown out there to play defense, and perhaps he forgot his special teams assignments.
Situation. I mean, he has played special teams a little bit this year. But, you don't want to blame DeMar. They're not going to do this. The Bills will close ranks,
Yeah.
This is, I doubt that besides the Diggs stuff from training camp, a lot of this stuff doesn't leak out of there.
But it's a big save by Sean Payton and his run the field goal team out policy. Smart. It was obviously stupid as all get out because they missed the field goal.
Well, but the idea, that's the one thing you have, right, is try to confuse the Bills and maybe try to draw them off sides or whatever he was trying to do.
He would have been, so it worked at the end of the first half. He would have been the GOAT, and not greatest of all time GOAT. If they had missed that field goal like they did, everyone would have said, well, you're scrambling out there. You cannot get, they missed 2, botched 2 extra points too. So I think there was, I honestly, I think there was a lot of negative on the Denver side. I think we all disagree too. We could get into that later.
I don't care about the negative. They won the game. Their season is they're 4-5. They're not going anywhere this year. Who cares about Denver? I mean, I'll talk about it if you want to. This is all about Buffalo. This is a team that's a Super Bowl contender that is going to miss the playoffs. Guys, heads are going to roll here. This is going to be shocking probably to people outside of Buffalo, but the head coach get fired. The offensive coordinator could be gone immediately. It is a major look in the mirror time in Buffalo.
Yeah, offensive coordinator, this was actually not a terrible game for him, though. It's not his fault they fumbled.
No, but is it kind of on the coaching? Sometimes I can't tell with these sort of gaffes. The fundamentals are not being executed on a simple handoff. You can throw the ball and whiz the ball down the field for these complicated throws, and you can't hand the ball off at some point. I do think the coaches have to be responsible.
I don't know.
The players and the coaches.
It's weird to blame a coach for a fumble. I don't think Pro Football Focus will look at it that way.
Who cares? I don't want to hear from Pro Football Focus right now. They're the ones who keep telling me the Bills' offense isn't the problem. Well, it's the play calling and the offense have been a problem all year. Whether they weren't
moved
last
the ball
night.
at will last night.
Did they? Josh had 177 yards.
They lost 24-22, and they had 4 turnovers. What does that say to you? They almost won the game with 4 turnovers, meaning they were a far better team the entire game. They should have lost by 3 touchdowns. They had 4 turnovers.
I think at some point you have to be able to score when you need to score.
Right, which they did.
And they don't play complementary football at all, Perloff. It's either they're running the ball for 5 straight plays or they're passing on 3 straight plays. Like, the
fact that they lost the turnover battle 4-1, it was 4-1, right?
Yeah.
And had a lead going into the final second of the game says to me they were by far the better team. If you take out those 4 turnovers.
Yeah, cool. Let's do it. How do we surgically remove those 4 turnovers and change the ending of this game?
Sometimes things happen that are a little fluky.
This is a team that needed, let's not forget, that needed basically the refs to bail them out to beat the New York Giants at home in primetime.
Gosh,
like
that
the
was
Giants,
this season? That feels like a long time ago.
Yes, and that was with Tyrod Taylor, where they actually had a representative quarterback, but still, like, it's bad.
I think also when it comes to the Bills conversation and whether or not turnovers were the difference and can we remove them from this performance, the Bills are a turnover team.
Yes.
Like, I think that's the problem, is that their DNA, their identity is to turn the ball over 2 to 3 to even 4 times a game. And I don't think you can separate that at this point. Maybe you could say, well, if they just cut turnovers down, they can win these games. I don't know if they can, given the format, the way they're playing right now, the DNA of the team. It just feels like they're not built to keep the ball on their side.
Usually I love when Josh Allen gets the first interception out of the way in the first half, because it's kind of like, it's comforting. It's like, all right, well, here we got the first one out of the way, because we know it's coming at some point. You know the interception's coming. And instead it was 2. Now, 1 was not his fault in that first half. Like Gabe Davis, like, you have got to catch the ball. You know that you have someone throwing lasers. How are you not ready for this? They're never ready. That's a thing. They're never ready. And they're not a team that's really like awesome playing from behind, even though they did end up tying this game last night. I'm out of ideas.
They're not a huge fumble team. They're a huge interception team.
Right, turnovers.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
thank you for that.
I think you have to separate the two, because there's obviously one problem where Josh Allen keeps throwing interceptions and everyone's talking about it. How many years has he led the league in it?
Trevor Lawrence did 2 years his rookie season, but maybe last year was Dak Prescott. But he's right up there. And here's the thing: the fumbles are a problem. Well, not this year, but the fumbles in the red zone last year were a massive problem. So it's always looming, like it's always right there.
Yeah. So, I think it was fluky last night. I know that doesn't make you feel better, but the Broncos were dying to give that game away.
Oh, they were.
All night long. They had every opportunity in the world. They got the ball at the Bills' 45-yard line every time. Have you ever seen more 1-yard passes in your entire life than the Broncos?
Here's the thing, Perloff, though. If you have a team that's begging to give the game away, a good team takes it. And it doesn't matter if they've had 3 or 4 turnovers earlier in the game. When you have that moment, when it's winning time at the end of the fourth quarter, a good team finds a way. And the Bills did not find a way because they were sloppy.
I would argue analytically that's not true.
Well, I don't care about your analytics right now.
If you lose, this is a cliche, but if you lose a turnover battle, you're losing most games.
Of course you are. Of course.
So a good team doesn't find a way to overcome 4 turnovers to 1. That's a very rare occurrence to win that game. And they almost did it. So
almost.
Explain your choice of wardrobe right now. I'm a little confused. How did you buy that T-shirt?
Well, I'm frustrated, and I didn't feel like burning one of my Bills T-shirts today because, honestly, I think it's bad for the environment. Probably shouldn't burn stuff like that. So Martin in engineering was good enough to give me some red tape, and I've X'd the Bills T-shirt, just red X. I'm not going to wear a paper bag over my head because I still have a show to do. Red X on the Bills right now. Thank you.
Wait, is this acceptable fan behavior? Are you denouncing your Bills fandom?
No, I'm showing how displeased I am with the fact that they are probably going to miss the playoffs. Like, that's unfathomable to me coming into the season. Unfathomable. You are too good, and I know they've had injuries. I get that. But the defense, like, they're still holding their own. If the offense was even playing to half of what they're capable of, they'd be fine. They'd be leading the division. Anyway. And changes are going to happen.
I just feel like I know Josh Allen is the superstar of the team. I know he's the franchise. And I know Ken Dorsey is, kind of, public enemy number one in Buffalo. At a certain point, I just feel like if you're an elite quarterback, I don't want to hear any more about the play call is a problem. Like,
well,
you're playing
Josh doesn't say that.
I know he doesn't say that, but like you're playing against the Denver Broncos, you're playing against some of these, middling teams. Like at a certain point, like I can't remember the last guy I could think about honestly was Aaron Rodgers at the end with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Elite quarterbacks, we don't talk about saying, well, they're being held back by their play caller, and they'd be good if only their play caller.
Well, but EJ, here's the other thing, though. It's about, like, harnessing the good things about a guy like Josh Allen and trying to minimize the bad. And it gets reduced down to this very simple, I think, lazy take, which is you got to let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. It's like, no. You can, but let's not pretend like he's sitting there playing with one hand tied behind his back. I think a good coach and offensive coordinator can harness, like, how did Brett Favre, the ultimate gunslinger, win 3 MVPs and win a Super Bowl and get to another one? I mean, you have a coach like Mike Holmgren who's able to channel, and that's when you'll live with the bad because of the good, right?
But last night was not about play calling because they outgained them significantly. The Broncos can't stop anybody from running the ball, so they just handed
mistakes. Last night was about mistakes.
So the play calling actually wasn't bad because they were just running all over them. James Cook did whatever he wanted. They outgained them significantly last night.
To me, like even that says a lot. Like they started the game throwing the football and they couldn't
turn
the ball over, and the game switched when James Cook took the game over.
Yeah. I could hear Maggie yelling. I could hear Maggie yelling, "Run the ball!"
The ball.
Yeah, but then eventually against the Broncos, you have no choice. You can see your guy is running for 8 yards a clip.
Yeah, I know. But honestly, like a little too late.
But
and
you
the
had two fumbles on run plays, so running the ball wasn't as safe as you would think.
Well, how about the play where James Cook is running at full speed? The ball gets knocked out of his hands, bounces, a perfect bounce, like he's dribbling a basketball right back to him. That's when I was like, they're winning.
To Perloff's point, only the Bills lose that game.
Thank you, EJ.
That's a great point.
EJ.
Because you think about that play,
missing the 41-yarder.
He missed a PAT. He missed a PAT.
2 PATs.
Yeah, 2 PATs. I mean,
the Broncos had 10 penalties last night.
Yeah, only the Bills lose that kind of game, which is crazy for me to say as a Jets fan. But that was I thought the Jets played this game and win. Like they beat the Giants, and like even the Bills couldn't figure this out.
Giants might lose that game.
Giants, I don't think are good enough to get to that point.
The question is Josh Allen the problem? I will be the one who will still continue to defend him because if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you don't have a prayer. And I think you can change things around him and you can try to find a coach, an offensive coach who can get through to him better or clean this up. I'm not giving up on Josh Allen. That'd be crazy. I know what it's like to live in quarterback hell. I know what that's like. It was 20 years of trying to look for a quarterback. You cannot give up on a guy like this.
That's weird. So you're not giving up on your 27-year-old superstar quarterback at this point?
Perloff, I'm telling you.
What are you going to do? What are you giving up on Josh Allen? Are you crazy? That's the only thing you guys got going.
Thank you. And just like putting all the blame on him is what I'm talking about. Not giving up like running him out of town, but making him the villain here. Like I can't do it because without him, there's nothing.
Yeah, it's funny. So who is the villain last night?
I think the coaching is. I think the mistakes are.
Coaching, is it
12
McDermott
men
or
on the
Ken
field.
Dorsey?
Okay, they're probably going to fire the special teams coordinator, but like that's just going to be window dressing.
Okay.
So
is it McDermott?
I think that he's out.
Yeah.
I think he's out at the end of the year because I think it's sloppy and I think the vibes are off.
At a certain point, though, when you talk about the vibes, and McDermott is obviously the ultimate leader. Again, doesn't some of that fall on Josh Allen? He's the franchise face. He's the quarterback. And in fact, some of these vibes being off are apparently part of his fault. Like, this whole thing started with him and Diggs, for whatever reason, not being on the same page. He doesn't say why. Diggs doesn't say why. They say they're good, but doesn't look like they're good. Like, we talk about the vibes being off, and to me, doesn't the quarterback set the tone in the locker room? And if the locker room is off, some of that's got to come on Josh Allen.
I know, but EJ, like, I'm not going to put this all on Diggs. I think that he gets, like, unfairly kind of lambasted for a lot of this stuff for just, like, diva wide receiver. But at the same time, like, yeah, you're going to have two guys with a relationship. Josh only says the right things publicly. Loves him, forces the ball to him. Not last night. And Diggs is playing with a back injury, but not last night he didn't force the ball to him because he couldn't, but will force feed Diggs. In some ways, almost overcompensates to try to get him involved.
What do vibes have to do with a botched handoff? I don't even know what you're talking about. This isn't a surfing movie. What are you talking about? They botched a handoff and they fumbled on their first play of the game, and then they threw it 2 interceptions in the first half.
The turnovers are bad. I'm just talking about all the other things that are simmering right beneath the surface and the real elephant in the room. And the real elephant in the room, and we saw this happen. You want to talk about vibes? We saw this happen with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, they had already won a Super Bowl, so it was a little different. But they never recovered from 13 seconds. I honestly believe that. They never recovered from that game, losing to the Chiefs in Arrowhead in the division round 2 years ago. And you'd be like, Maggie, that's such a loser mentality. You're talking about a game from 2 years ago. Richard Sherman's still talking about Malcolm Butler at the goal line. It matters when that happens and people are pointing fingers and you don't know what to do with your anger because you had it and you let it go. And things haven't been the same since.
I can buy that. That makes some sense.
You know what's funny? I didn't go back to that, but I actually thought that they haven't recovered from last season and all the things that happened even before DeMar Hamlin. Remember, he had that blizzard, that
two blizzards,
two blizzards.
The shooting in Buffalo.
There was a shooting. I thought last season was kind of a disaster off the field that had nothing to do with them, and then there was a disaster on the field that also didn't have anything to do with them. But it just felt like that hangover, I thought, was from that to me, watching them play this season.
Okay, but here's the thing. That was tragic. What happened at the supermarket was unfathomable, and the snowstorm was just awful. DeMar is a positive story.
Right.
Yes, it was fraught with emotion at the time, but think about what he's done, what the community has done, rallied around him. This guy is getting defibrillators all over the country. Like, that is a positive now. So I don't know if I can say that. Anyway, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I mean, do you want to put as Josh Allen the problem on the poll? I don't think he is. The turnovers are a problem. Is he only to blame for those? No. Just like Dak Prescott wasn't only to blame for the turnovers last year, and you were screaming that from the hill, and everyone else.